last Friday, we had the release of Glass Onion on Netflix. Now, I'm not talking about the whole other release, because that made me very angry, but it came out on Netflix last Friday. It acts as a spin-off or sequel to the Amazing Knives Out film, and it's another incredible film revolving about Benoit Blanc. After seeing this incredible film, I knew I needed to talk about it, so that's what we're going to do today. Hello everyone, Fictional Fanatics here to talk about why Glass Onion is so compelling. Now, for those unaware, Glass Onion is the sequel to Rian Johnson's beloved film, Knives Out. After the success of that film, Rian Johnson signed a deal with Netflix to produce Knives Out sequels. Yes, sequels, we will be getting more, thank God. It is about a group of wealthy friends getting invited to a private island to play a murder mystery game, but all goes astray when Detective Benoit Blanc shows up. It's an incredibly fun film and just as enjoyable as the original, if not more. Now, it's a flawed film, but it's still really good. Now, we will be entering spoiler talks right now, so if you have not seen the film, I highly recommend that you go see the film and then come back as having a mystery film hunt. It's not good. Now, the first thing I want to praise is the atmosphere of the film. In Knives Out, it takes place in this decently wealthy family, taking place in a manor of the woods. It's a very unique environment, and one that I really love. But in this movie, we are dealing with billionaires on this beautiful private island where it starts out as this game. Both films have very cool environments, but this one's just a lot more fun in my opinion. One of the coolest things about the film was the opening, where we see all the characters receiving their boxes and getting on a phone call about how to solve it. We see little bits of everyone's life, like Duke's YouTube video, Lionel's meeting, Claire's interview, and Birdie's party. It shows these characters and sets up their characters' motivations and relationship with each other. And then I love when it switched to Helen sitting alone and just breaking the box. It sets up how she is the one cut out of the group, but shows that she's not Cassandra but her sister, else why would she be receiving the box? She'd be doing the mystery thing as well, most likely. It is a very smart setup. This opening is such a fun way to get used to the setting of wealth and frivolous wastes of money for 5-minute enjoyment. That's what the boxes are. How much did that cost just for like 5 minutes of them solving it? It also perfectly shows the contrast of how Helen and Blanc aren't part of this game and group. Now, speaking of Blanc, I don't like how he starts off in this depressed, lazy state. It could have been something interesting, but we get no payoff for it in the story and just ends up being a lazy waste of time. Now, once again, when everyone arrives and respawning the ship, it's a nice scene. Now, this film takes place in 2020, which I'd say for the most part, it's a wasteful detail, but in this scene at least, it does a great job of showing the characters. We see Lionel and Claire all masked up, being responsible and safe, Duke just not wearing a mask, and Birdie having like a mask, but it's not a mask, and then they're just hugging everyone. Also, when Blanc meets all these rich people being cautious of COVID and inquiring about Cassandra, once again sets up how he would be trying to get clues about these people as part of the murder mystery, but then also acts as exposition, as well as giving him a front for how he will know certain information later in the film, covering that he knows it from Helen. And arriving on the island perfectly once again shows the atmosphere. It shows the eccentricity of this island and once again sets up later in the film the piece of shit line. Scenes like this are why I am loving this film and Knives Out so much. Seeing the setups to the later payoffs are so rewarding and encourages rewatches. We finally meet Miles Braun. His introduction is perfectly done. Seeing his interactions with all these characters does a great job showing an outward perception of all his relationships. What I mean by this is showing the happy, smiley version of their relationship. For example, his outward relationship with Duke is sponsoring his YouTube channel and pushing forward his career, all their friends. But later in the film, when Miles is denying Duke to be on his news channel, it shows a more internal, almost disdain behind these closed doors. It provides such fun for a murder mystery film, as all these millionaires has a mask they need to put on in public, but having these secret hidden ulterior motives behind the scenes, which just makes it a fun experience in the film to try to see behind everyone's mask. It is different from in Knives Out, where there the characters don't need to act as much. They're a family in a manor which is in the middle of nowhere. We see lies, but it's not something which is expected, and the people in Knives are trying to figure out what the lies are. But in Glass Onion, it's getting past the knives and seeing to the center of these people, to use a metaphor from the movie. And that's when the fun really begins, when we get to this island. We must have got like 30 minutes before the murder mystery began, and this time was crucial. In the story, it was supposed to be a calm before the storm of solving the mystery, but served us as the audience as a chance to see behind the masks of the characters and Blanc and Helen to do the same. And when dinner finally comes around, it's when the film gets derailed, as Blanc solves the mystery before it even begins. Everything planned is thrown out and the weekend falls apart. And it is a twist and a great one at that. But now, what we have been waiting to see, the real murder. Everyone plans beginning, and a fight has Cassandra leaving to her room, but then out of the blue, Duke just dies. It is interesting twist because if you saw the trailer of the whole movie so far, there's some people who think maybe they could die. It could be Miles, of course, maybe Cassandra, or maybe Blonde. So those are the ones set up as the possible victims with the trailers and what we've seen. So when you turn around to have Duke die, it's shocking. And then things just dissolve into madness. People are panicking, accusations are thrown, and worst of all, Duke's gun is missing as the lights turn off. The sequence where the lights turn off is so good. I love the sense of chaos as everyone is trying to get away from the others and there's a killer loose. It's shot perfectly, especially when the gun is fired. I love the sense of dread as we saw this gloved hand holding and aiming a gun. It was so satisfying, and when it shot Cassandra, I just loved that scene. But now we have a flashback, and I appreciate that in these films, that instead of just doing some exposition dump, we get flashbacks explaining everything. It makes for a much more enjoyable viewing experience to have it shown rather than spelled out. I loved when Helen first came along and they were having that first discussion out on the patio. It was beautiful and it was so well written. But my favorite part of the flashbacks was the court case. Seeing how Cassandra reacted to all her friends lying and ruining her career basically, and it was just heart wrenching. And seeing her screaming at them, it was so good. And now the exposition. What, after seeing the first film, would lead us to believe is that the killer would be called out and brought to justice, we would get a confession, and all would be well. But surprisingly, that's not what happens. Sure, we find out that it was Miles, and I loved how Blanc told us, but our characters don't win. Miles burns the only evidence that can be used against him, and not wanting to lose their cash flow and reputation, no one sides with Blanc and Helen. They lost. So now defeated, although not being able to take Miles to justice, Blanc hands Helen something and tells her to remember why her sister walked away, and he leaves. And then Helen realizes what to do. She can't just take Miles to justice, but she can take him down, outside of the law. She goes around destroying his stuff, then she catches some furniture on fire, but then she takes Clear, Miles' invention, which can make Miles millions upon billions, so much money, and throws it into a fire, destroying the house and the billions that would have come with publishing that invention. Miles has lost so much value, and now, once they can't get anything more out of him, all his quote unquote friends leave and side with Helen. It was a great ending. I loved how they broke the precedent set by the last film by ending up with Helen losing. Now, sure, she still might have won by getting Miles incarcerated for the murder of her sister, but in the film, we don't see any victory for her besides tearing down Miles as well. But to back up a bit, though, the fact that Miles is pretty incompetent is such a good move. We have it hint throughout the movie when Blanc crossed him out as a suspect for Cassandra's murder because after a court battle, it would be a bad idea to go kill her. And with the fax machine ideas, now, yeah, some of them were successes like the crypto for kids, but when you got billions of dollars and top scientists and inventors, some will definitely work, even if they are dumb ideas. It also makes the napkin thing more clearly Cassandra's idea, for those who know, because if he's dumb, it's gonna be her, and it's just a great twist. Now, although it is enjoyable, this film isn't perfect. The fact that they have Blanc playing Among Us at the start of the film is dumb, because Among Us was popularized in October of 2020, while this takes place in April of 2020. If anyone is playing at the time, it wouldn't be seniors. It's one of the lame pop culture references in the film, but at least the other ones fit. This one just doesn't make sense. There are also some loose threads. Just one that comes to mind is the guy staying on Miles Island. We have no payoff for him, and it's just a joke conclusion. I don't know why there wasn't more of a reaction about the letter. If the courts found out that Cassandra was the true creator of the napkin, all those who testified could be held in contempt of court, possibly destroying their careers. And this last one, it's not a big deal, but in the first movie, they referenced Hamilton. There was a clear Hamilton reference. So to have, what's his name? Leslie Odom Jr. come in, uh, it's not big, but it's just something I found funny. Either way, the film was still highly enjoyable. For the most part, it was written perfectly and is a feast for the eyes. It is an amazing film and gets me even more excited for the next movie to come out. Anyways, That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching, and what do you think? If you want to see why Knives Out works, check out this video, and until the next one, bye!